The story you are about to hear was told to me by journalist David Harris in a psychiatric clinic in Maine. Officially, he has been missing for 2 years. Doctors speak of post-traumatic stress and hallucinations, but when I look into his eyes, I see truth there. Terrible, incredible truth. Let him tell you himself about what happened that summer at Deadwater Lake in the deep forests of northern Maine.
My name is David Harris, and I'm a journalist. I was a journalist. Now I don't know who I am. What I'm about to tell you sounds insane, but it's the truth. Every damn word. It all started last July. My editor assigned me to write an article about abandoned places in Maine. Tourist material with a mystical undertone. The kind that sells well to urban readers hungry for thrills. I chose Deadwater Lake in the northern part of the state, deep in the Aroostook Forest. Rumors said strange things happened there. Before the trip, I did some research in Portland's archives. Deadwater Lake was first mentioned in documents from 1847, when the first lumberjacks came to these parts. Even then, local Penobscot Indians warned white people not to settle near that lake. They called it Kichi Nibi Makak, Great Water Darkness. The first settlers didn't heed the warnings. By 1860, a small village of lumberjacks had grown around the lake. By 1863, not a soul remained. Official documents spoke of an epidemic, but surviving witnesses told of strange sounds from the lake and people who disappeared at night. In the 1920s, a wealthy industrialist from Boston decided to build a summer camp by the lake for his children and friends' children. Camp Sunnyside operated for almost 50 years, taking in children from wealthy families. No one spoke of problems until 1978. The lake was an hour's drive from the nearest town, Millinocket. The road was broken, overgrown in places with pine undergrowth. GPS lost signal 10 miles before the destination, common in Maine's deep forests. I arrived in the evening when the sun was already touching the tops of white pines. The first thing that struck me was the silence. Not ordinary forest silence, full of rustles and bird calls, but dead, oppressive silence. Absolute, like in a soundproof room. Even my footsteps sounded muffled, as if the air absorbed all sounds. The lake was perfectly round, as if cut by a giant drill. Diameter, about a mile. The water was dark, almost black, without a single ripple. Even the light evening breeze that swayed the pine branches didn't touch the water's surface. On the opposite shore, the remains of the old camp were visible. Several half-collapsed cabins, the main building with a caved-in roof and a tilted dock extending into the dark water. I pitched my tent right by the water on a small clearing where visitor camping tents once stood. I decided to explore the ruins in the morning and take some photos for the article. According to archival documents, the camp was closed in August 1978 after 4 children disappeared. Their bodies were never found, despite divers searching every meter of the lake. That first night I woke to a strange sound. At first I thought it was rain, but looking out of the tent, I saw a clear, starry sky. The sound was like splashing, as if someone was throwing stones into the water. I looked at the lake and saw circles on the surface, spreading in concentric waves. Then another splash, and another. Circles appeared all over the lake, but I saw no one. I took a flashlight and approached the shore. The water was clear at the edge, but a meter from shore, impenetrable blackness began. The bottom dropped very sharply. Archives said the lake's depth reached 200 feet, unusual for water bodies in this region. Then I heard a voice. "Help!" A weak, childish voice coming as if from the depths. "Please, help us. It's so cold here." I directed the flashlight beam into the water, my heart pounding wildly. Nothing. Only black water that seemed to absorb the light. Mister, can you hear us?" The voice became clearer. Now there were several children's voices full of fear and pleading. "We can't get out. The water holds us, won't let us surface." I recoiled from the shore, stumbled and fell on my back. When I looked at the water again, there was no one there. Only black, motionless surface reflecting the stars. In the morning, I convinced myself it was a dream or hallucination from fatigue and stress of recent months. Divorce, losing my job at a major newspaper, alcohol problems. All of this was enough for my brain to start producing fantasies. I inflated a rubber boat and crossed to the other shore. The camp ruins were in worse condition than they appeared from a distance. Cabins had almost completely collapsed, roofs caved in, walls covered with mold and moss. But the main building still held, though windows were broken and the door hung on one hinge. Inside, I found what I was looking for: old journals and documents preserved in a metal safe in the director's office. Most papers were damaged by moisture, but several journals survived. Camp Sunnyside accepted children aged 8 to 16. It was an elite camp. The season cost more than an average annual salary. Children came here for the entire summer, from early June to late August. The program included swimming, canoeing, hiking, fishing, and nature study. The last entry in the journal was dated August 15, 1978. The handwriting was nervous, hurried, completely unlike the neat entries of previous months. Children have been behaving strangely for a week. Tommy Ryder, Sarah Collins, Mike Andrews, and Lisa Hartman sit by the lake for hours staring into the water. They don't answer questions, don't participate in activities. When we try to lead them away from shore, they resist with unnatural strength. Last night, I caught them at the dock at 3 a.m. They were about to enter the water fully clothed. When I called to them, they turned, but there was no understanding in their eyes, as if they were looking through me. The next entry was made with a trembling hand. Dr. Weimer from Millinocket says it's group hysteria, recommends sending the children home. But I saw something in the water last night, something big and dark. It moved beneath the surface. My God, what fish could be that size? And the sounds, those sounds, as if someone was crying at the bottom of the lake. Entry from August 16th. They're gone, all 4. We searched the entire camp, nearby forest, no traces. Their beds weren't touched, as if they simply dissolved into thin air. Called police and rescue services. Divers are searching the lake, but nothing so far. Lord, what will I tell their parents? The last entry consisted of one line, clearly written in panic. They didn't drown. Something came for them. God help us all. I photographed all the pages and continued searching. In one of the director's desk drawers, I found family photos of the missing children. In the group shot, 4 smiling kids by the lake. Tommy Ryder, 12, a blonde boy with freckles. Sarah Collins, 11, a red-haired girl with pigtails. Mike Andrews, 13, a dark-haired teenager, and little Lisa Hartman, 10, with big brown eyes. In another cabin, I found a counselor's diary. The last day's entries painted a picture of mounting horror. The children don't eat, barely sleep. We find them at night by the lake. They stand ankle deep in water and listen. When we ask what they're listening to, they answer, voices. They're calling us home. What home? Their home is hundreds of miles away. Yesterday, Tommy told me, down there no one dies. Everyone stays together forever. I don't understand where a 12-year-old gets such thoughts. Lisa said she dreamed of a city underwater. A beautiful city where everyone who ever drowned in the lake lives. She said it doesn't hurt or frighten there. They're waiting for us, she said. They've been waiting for us for so long. By evening, I returned to my camp on the North Shore. The sun was setting, painting the lake blood red. I built a fire and tried to prepare dinner, but had no appetite. I constantly caught myself staring at the water, expecting to see something. Around 10 p.m. sounds began, not splashing like the previous night, but something else, like singing. Quiet, monotonous, very sad. The melody was strange, unlike anything I'd heard before. Ancient, primitive. I tried to record the sound on my recorder, but the device wouldn't work. The batteries were full, but the screen remained black. My cell phone also died, though it showed full charge that evening. The singing grew louder. Now I could distinguish voices, male, female, children's. They sang in a language I didn't understand, but the melody evoked a strange feeling of longing and sadness, as if all the world's sorrows had gathered in this song. Around midnight, the most terrible thing began. Light fog rose from the lake's surface. Not ordinary fog, but something dense, almost glowing in the moonlight. The air became cold, so cold that my breath became visible, though the thermometer in my tent showed 20 degrees Celsius. And again, voices. Now there were many, children's, adults, elderly. All called me by name, though no one here should have known what I was called. David, David, come to us. It's so lonely here, David. We need a friend. We've been waiting for you so long. You understand us. You feel pain, like us. I stood and, not understanding why, walked toward the shore. Each step was difficult, as if I was walking against strong wind, but I couldn't stop. My legs moved by themselves, leading me to the dark water. Silhouettes appeared in the fog, dozens of figures standing waist-deep in the lake, adults and children, men and women, all in clothing from different eras. I recognized lumberjack costumes from the 19th century, summer dresses from the 1920s, modern tourist clothing. They all reached out to me. Their faces were pale as moonlight, hair flowing in non-existent wind. Eyes empty, but peaceful smiles played on their lips. Blissful expressions of people who had found long-awaited peace. In the front row stood 4 children from the camp. Tommy, Sarah, Mike, and Lisa looked exactly as in the photograph. Only their skin was deathly pale, and water streamed from their hair. I reached the water's edge. The first drops touched my feet, icy like the Arctic Ocean, but I continued walking. Water rose to my knees to my waist. The figures in the lake became clearer, and I heard their voices not with my ears, but directly in my brain. "Don't be afraid," whispered little Lisa, reaching out to me. "It's good here. No one hurts you here." "You'll be with us forever," added Tommy. "No one will leave you. No one will betray you." "We know how much you hurt," said Sarah. "Divorce, job loss, loneliness. There's none of that here." "Only peace here," finished Mike. eternal, endless peace. Water rose to my chest. I felt something huge and ancient moving beneath me, something that had existed here long before people came, something that fed on human suffering, loneliness, and despair, luring victims into its embrace with false promises of peace. I understood that one more step and I would join them forever, become another figure in their sad dance, another voice calling the next victims. But at the last moment, I remembered my daughter, little Emma, who lived with her mother in Portland, who was waiting for Dad to finally deal with his problems and become part of her life again. I screamed her name and rushed toward shore. The figures in the water howled with rage. Children's faces that had just been smiling twisted into grimaces of hatred. Dozens of hands reached for me, trying to drag me back into the dark water. Icy fingers clutched at my clothes, scratched my skin. "You can't leave," they screamed. "You're ours. You belong to the lake." But I kept running, stumbling and falling. Reaching shore, I didn't stop. I'd grabbed my backpack, rushed to the car, and started the engine with trembling hands. The last thing I saw in the rearview mirror was black fog rising from the lake and moving down the road after me like a living creature. I reached home by morning. My wife, ex-wife, said I looked sick. She was right. I really am sick, but not the way she thinks. Every night I hear voices. They call me to return. They promise peace that I sought so much after divorce, after job loss, after all life's failures. They say that there, underwater, pain will subside forever. At first I resisted, went to psychiatrists, took medications, tried to convince myself these were hallucinations. But the voices became louder, more insistent. And recently I understood the terrible truth. I didn't escape from the lake. I brought it with me. Now it's in me, in my dreams, in my thoughts. Every night I see dark water, hear the singing of the drowned. And I know that one night I'll get up from bed, get in the car, and drive back. Because deep down I understand they're right. There, in the black water of Deadwater Lake, there really is peace. Eternal, endless peace for all lost, lonely souls. If you ever hear about a journalist found drowned in a lake in northern Maine, know that was me, and I wasn't alone. There are many of us there, very many, and we're always ready to welcome new friends into our endless dance of sorrow. Always.
After this story, David Harris fell silent and spoke no more words. A week later, he disappeared from the clinic. Searches yielded nothing. His car was found on a forest road 60 miles from Millinocket. Keys were in the ignition, door open. The body was found in Deadwater Lake a month later. Official cause of death, suicide. But I know the truth. And now sometimes on especially quiet nights, I think I hear voices calling me to that distant lake in the northern forests of Maine.